Welcome to another episode of SuperUgly Confessions. To get more viral content, plus endless giveaways, be sure to visit goodbad.superugly.com.
I don't think this is a story that should ever be told. It's a black seed, and once you plant it in your own head, you can't ever dig it out. It'll put down roots in the dark soil of your mind and grow into something twisted. But the silence is a weight I can't carry anymore. On this board, in this digital confessional, I can maybe set it down for a minute. Even if someone I know finds it, I doubt anything will happen to me. Not because I'm safe, but because the things I'm tangled up with, they're like spiders. They only bother with the flies that struggle in the web. I've stopped struggling. My name is a ghost. I'm the echo of a rich boy from the gilded cages of Montecito, a professional disappointment, a burnout living on the phantom limbs of my father's fortune. He's a man of consequence, my old man, Arthur Blackwood. He moves in circles so elite the air is thin and cold, and the connections he has are like filaments of a web that stretches across the country, sticky and strong. You wouldn't believe the things that get caught in it. I was never meant to be part of that web. I was the gnat buzzing angrily against the window pane, thinking I was free. I tried to rebel after I got myself expelled from the Aldrich Academy for taking a Louisville slugger to a classmate's skull over a debt he owed me. I'm not a fighter, you see. I'm a coward, which is why I hit him from behind. My father cut me off. Not completely, that would be too clean. He exiled me to a shitbox apartment in a part of Los Angeles where the sun seemed tired and the air always smelled of fried failure. To repay him for this mercy, I started dealing narcotics. It was my way of giving him the finger, of proving I didn't need his blood money. I was an idiot, cocooned in the arrogant belief that my name was a shield. I thought old Art Blackwood would yank me out of any real trouble, just like he made the assault charges from the academy disappear. My first foray ended with me getting the holy hell beaten out of me and robbed blind on a street corner in Inglewood. I gave up for a week, but the humiliation was a worse poison than the fear. So I got smarter. I became a ghost, haunting the peripheries of universities and upscale bars, a convenient phantom for rich kids with strict parents and businessmen who wanted a quick, discreet fix. I was Amazon Prime for sin. No waiting, no dangerous connections, just me, a smiling, hollowed-out delivery boy. I was convenient. That's how I met Elara Vance. Old money, like my father, but from a different strand of the web. Her dad was a titan of investment, a man who owned chunks of the city the way other men own socks. I started supplying her parties, and through her, I drifted into a deeper, darker current. I was arranging things, not just drugs, but anything, everything a room full of beautiful, bored monsters could dream of. After a few months, Elara introduced me to her family at a gathering at their estate in the Palisades. A car was sent for me. They gave me clothes to wear. A navy suit of exquisite cut, but with a strange insignia stitched inside the lining and on the pockets. It was a symbol that meant nothing to me. A circle, bisected by a jagged broken wheel. They also gave me a mask for the evening, one of those Venetian ball affairs, etched with the same unsettling emblem. When I asked Elara about it, she just smiled. A vacant, polished smile. Everyone needs one, for the special events. You must bring it every time. At the party, I tried to be a specter, floating through the rooms. But one man hooked me. His name was Julian, Elara's uncle. He had eyes like chips of flint, and a smile that didn't touch them. He looked at me and saw a tool, something useful he'd found stuck to the bottom of his shoe. He talked politics, about a grand project that would save America, about a messianic figure who would lead us. I nodded, zoning out, until he led me upstairs to a locked room. The lock clicked behind us. Another man was waiting inside. Julian backhanded me, a sharp, professional crack that lit fireworks behind my eyes. He shoved me into a chair. "We're not idiots, boy," Julian hissed. "We know who your father is, Arthur Blackwood's disappointing whelp. Did you think you could slum it in our world without us noticing?" My blood turned to ice water. I was so boned. "They have an offer for you," the other man said, his voice a dry rustle. "You can help us and be compensated handsomely, or you can refuse and we will have a very frank conversation with your father." The consequences would be familial. I had no choice. They wanted me to use my name, my father's name, to open doors. They gave me a list of people, associates of my father's, and demanded I arrange meetings. I was the key, nothing more. I never sat in on the talks. I didn't want to know. But they had one final demand. I had to attend their event as their guest, wearing their insignia. The day arrived a month later. A car pulled up, a perfectly ordinary yellow LA cab except for the tinted windows and the New York plates, a dissonant detail that stuck in my head like a splinter. The drivers were silent, grim men in suits. They made me change in the back seat. They told me the mask was not optional. We drove to a place that didn't fit, a rundown, single-story house in a scrubby, forgotten part of the valley. It looked like a meth lab, not a venue for the elite. I was searched, my ID was taken, and they photographed my face before letting me put the mask back on. I signed forms, a flimsy piece of legal theater that was really a mutual suicide pact on paper. Inside, the place was packed with masked figures, all adorned with various symbols. I saw a red circle with a black spire, a gold hawk on a field of crimson. And then I saw it, on the lapel of a tall, imperious man whose presence I'd recognize in the pitch black of hell, my family's crest. My father, Arthur Blackwood, was here. My bowels turned to water. I spent the next hour as a ghost again, flitting through the crowd, trying to avoid the dark sun of his gravity. An older woman, a friend of Julian's named Beatrice, found me. She was drunk on power and something else, her eyes glittering behind her mask. "I want to show you something," she slurred, leading me through a warren of rooms, down into a cellar that smelled of damp earth and decay. Behind a reinforced steel door, guarded by another masked sentry, was another party, a deeper one. Beatrice led me to a black curtain. Behind it was a sight that has been burned onto the back of my eyelids forever. It was a wheel, a great vertical wheel, like something from a demented game show, and pinned to it were naked men and women, their bodies scarred and slack, their pupils black and wide as dimes. They were drugged into a stupor, barely conscious. "Would you like to go first?" Beatrice asked, "or shall I demonstrate?" I could only stammer. She laughed and spun the wheel. It creaked to a stop. "Ooh, right arm," she chirped, as if she'd want a stuffed animal. She pulled back another curtain, revealing a wall of implements, knives, cleavers, saws, things I didn't have names for. She selected a machete. What happened next was not a clean, cinematic thing. It was butchery. She didn't sever the arm, she hacked at it. The first blow bit deep, but didn't cleave. The second, and the third. The sound was wet and thick, like chopping a rotten log. Blood sprayed in arterial gushes, painting the wall, her dress, her ecstatic face. The man made a wet, gurgling sound, but no scream. The drugs saw to that. Finally, with a sound like a wet rope snapping, the arm came loose and hit the concrete with a sickening thud. I ran. I puked and I ran. Back through the cellar, up the stairs, into the main party. Julian was waiting. "The main event is starting," he said, his hand clamping on my shoulder like a vice. "You will watch the beginning." I stood at the back of the room as they wheeled in gurneys. The bidding began. These weren't just nameless vagrants, they were people, and the masked figures bid on them like cattle and then proceeded to take them apart. They used knives, pliers, fists. It was a symphony of agony. My father won the final bid. A young man, maybe my age. Arthur stood over him and gave a short, venomous speech. "I am sick of my lazy, worthless son," he said, his voice cold and clear, his eyes scanning the crowd as if looking for me. "I think I'll enjoy this. A little practice." He started with a pair of pliers, taking the ears, then the teeth and fingernails. But that wasn't enough. The rage took over. He dropped the tools and started beating the boy with his fists. When that didn't pulp the face fast enough, one of his men handed him a baseball bat. I saw the Louisville Slugger in his hands, and I understood. This was a message, for me and for everyone. He beat the young man until there was nothing left that was recognizable as a head, just a red ruin. I vomited outside. The cab ride home was a blur. I became a recluse, a prisoner in my own skin. After a month of trembling in the dark, I knew there was only one person who could, if not save me, then at least anchor me in the nightmare. I went to my father. I told him everything, my voice shaking. He listened, his face a granite mask. When I finished, he didn't offer comfort. "Shut your fucking mouth," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "You were not supposed to see any of that yet. I had a path for you, a gradual one. But you, in your spectacular, fuck-up way, stumbled into the heart of it. It's too late now." He leaned in, and I could smell his cologne and something colder underneath it. "You will do as I say. You will attend the events I tell you to attend. You will be a part of this family. It's true business. Do this, and you will be safe. Refuse, and the consequences will not come from me. They will come from the dark, and they will be thorough." That was 3 years ago. I have my own place now, nicer than the shitbox. I am firmly rooted in my father's world. I am a branch on his rotten tree. I have witnessed worse things since, things I can't even type out. I have never personally killed anyone, but I have been present for it. I am a coward. I hate what I am, but the fear is a cage I can't break out of. I'm just not that type of person. I'm the type who watches. I guess I always was.
My name is Vince. For a while, I wore a badge and a gun for Aegis Patrol, an armed security company. Our main gig was running security for Section 8 housing complexes in a major American city that's best left unnamed. The work was a drug. The adrenaline was a sharp, clean needle in the vein, and I was an addict. These complexes were like separate cities after dark, ruled by a different kind of law. My favorite part was the patrol itself, the freedom to move, to answer calls, to stretch your legs and feel the tense, electric air of the place. If one courtyard was quiet, you could roll out to another, where the night was humming with a darker music. One shift, around 2 a.m., I was patrolling a complex made of these grim 3-story brick buildings. The place was so bad we'd often cruise with our sidearms already in hand. I was rolling behind one of the buildings when I saw a board over a ground floor window was ajar. These buildings were supposed to be condemned, cleared of the last tenants to make way for the bulldozers that were always promised and never came. We cleared them for squatters, junkies, and the other lost souls who found refuge in the ruins. I got out of the car. The night was dead quiet, the kind of silence that feels like a held breath. I figured clearing the building would kill time. I slipped inside. It was a tomb of forgotten lives. Peeling wallpaper showed the ghosts of families. a faded cartoon character, a water-stained flower pattern. I'd often find a final eviction notice or a child's drawing, and I'd always wonder about the people. What chain of bad luck and worse choices led them here? And what final desperate act got them thrown out, leaving their history to be painted over by gang tags and the slow decay of the city? I found a hole kicked in a drywall sheet, a passage. I was feeling like a goddamn archaeologist of the damned, so I pushed through, getting white dust all over my uniform. I found a series of these holes, one leading to the next, a labyrinth carved through the guts of the building. I was a rat in the walls, and I was having fun. A stupid, dangerous fun. The deeper I went, the more the graffiti changed. It was less about territory and more like a ledger of services offered, or a chronicle of despair. I was absorbing it all, this map of a hidden world. I had to be getting near the end of the line. There couldn't be that many units left. Finally, the holes opened up into a larger space, a main room with a smaller one off to the side. This was it. The throne room. The sin room. In one corner was a pile of shattered cell phones, a dozen broken black mirrors. Trash was everywhere, and the air was thick with the smell of stale smoke, urine, and something coppery. Then I saw the shell casings, dozens of them, glittering in the beam of my flashlight. 9mm, .45. I documented a couple out of habit. Then I looked into the last room. That's when I saw the mattress. It was stained a deep, ugly brown, and the stain was old. But in the center was a much darker, fresher patch, a danger zone. And on the floor beside it, half hidden in the shadows, was a long, thin bone. It looked human. A radius, maybe. An arm bone. My blood went cold. My radio, when I keyed it, gave back only static. I was deep in the belly of this place, a mile from my car, and no one knew where I was. I wasn't a cop. I didn't give a goddamn what happened here. I just needed to get out. That's when I heard it. A series of footsteps, soft but deliberate, from the main room I'd just left. I was behind enemy lines and I'd stumbled into their headquarters. I didn't think. I moved. I booked it back through the holes, scrambling, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I didn't look back. I burst out of the building, jumped in my patrol car, and lit a cigarette with trembling hands. I smoked it down to the filter in 3 drags, and hit the road, my nerves jangling like loose change. I never found out if that was an execution chamber, a dumping ground, or something else. That place had a murder a month, easy. It's been demolished now, turned to dust. But sometimes in my dreams, I'm back in that ghetto maze, hearing those soft footsteps behind me, knowing that in the dark at the end of the hall, there's a mattress waiting, and it's never quite dry.
They call me D. I was 22, a security guard on my last shift. I'd been working this dead-end gatehouse job at a snobby, rich enclave called Lynx Creek since I mustered out of the Air Force. I was finally off to college, had a new job lined up at the campus library. This was my final night playing babysitter to a bunch of scam artists and social climbers. 75% of my job was turning away pizza drivers who'd been stiffed by the residents. It was midnight. My relief was late. All I wanted was to go home, burn this uniform, and never look back. That's when a beat-up Nissan Altima pulled up to the gate. My heart sank. God damn it. But the feeling that washed over me next was colder than frustration. It was a primal itch between my shoulder blades. The woman behind the wheel was sweating, her face slick and pale in the fluorescent gatehouse light. She was jumpy, her head on a swivel, ducking low every time a car passed. Just residents coming home. I leaned out. Ma'am, everything okay? Her eyes were wide, the pupils pinpricks. He's following me, she whispered, her voice frayed at the edges. The man he assaulted me. He's right behind me. I went to high alert. My hand drifted into my belt, my eyes scanning the road. Is he close? What's he driving? She pointed a shaking finger. Him! The one that just passed! The blue sedan! It was a completely different car. Before I could say another word, she was pointing again. No, him! The red one! They're all in on it! The penny dropped. This was before I knew the term gang stalking, the paranoid delusion that the whole world is a stage and everyone on it is an actor and a play meant for you. She was on something bad. You should call the police, ma'am, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. The police? She shrieked, a raw, tearing sound. They're in on it! They're all in on it! This carried on for what felt like an eternity. She pointed a minivan, a pickup truck, a goddamn Prius, her story becoming more tangled and frantic with each one. Finally, a man emerged from the shadows on the Lynx Creek side of the gate. He just walked out of the bushes, scaring the living hell out of me. He went to her window. Chloe, he said, his voice weary, practiced. Baby, it's okay. It's me. He gave me a slow, deliberate look. The one that says, I know, man. I deal with this every day. After a few minutes of him talking to her, he managed to get into the passenger seat. They drove off into the night. A minute later, my relief finally showed up. I told him the story, filed my report, and went home, officially free. The next day, I came back to the Lynx Creek Dart House to turn in my uniform. My boss was there, and so was a county sheriff. They asked me about the woman in the Nissan. I told him everything. I showed him the report. They told me that later that night, the boyfriend, his name was Ryan, had been admitted to the ICU, stabbed multiple times. The girl, Chloe, was gone. Vanished. I finished my statement, shook my boss's hand, and walked away. It was no longer my problem, but it settled in my gut, a cold, heavy stone. Nothing spooky, no skinwalkers or ghosts, just the chilling, unsettling truth that I'd been standing 2 feet from a raging storm, and if I'd opened that gate for her, if I'd let her out of that car, I truly believe the knife she used on Ryan would have found a home in me. I was just lucky. Sometimes, that's all there is.
For more viral content, endless free giveaways, cash opportunities, and more, be sure to visit goodbadsuperugly.com.